Guys, we have a lot to catch up on. Hi! It's Andrea and Penny. Ugh, my hair looks gross. I don't even know. I didn't even check myself in the camera before starting this, but hopefully I'm presentable. Penny looks adorable, don't you, honey? Yeah, look at that baby! For those who don't know, I always put it on reverse camera so she can see herself, because I don't want her to think that her mom's not doing something that's for her and for us and this family. So symbolically, I just always feel like it's nicer to let her see what's happening. Baba. It's you, Baba. Baba. It's hard to believe she'll be a year and a half by the time I'm done with this thing. And by then I probably will not maybe want to show her as much because, I don't know, privacy stuff. But yeah, it's just nice to have these mornings with her and see her how much she's changing. And anyway, welcome to this YouTube. I haven't posted in a few days because we went away for the weekend. Do you remember that? Yeah. We had a lot of fun. Our friends got married, and I never thought of this idea, but they got a rental home with that wedding budget, so they could actually spend quality time, talk to everybody. And that's something that I kind of feel like we weren't able to do as much when Mark and I got married back in the day. And so I wish I'd thought of something like that, you know? Or maybe included that as part of the weekend. But this is such a busy time of year for us. Penny just had her birthday. I'm setting up for my other kid's birthday soon. But yeah, I love that this goal of mine has been kind of plaguing me to be accountable and do these. So, okay. I'm going to get right into July 14th and read all the way up to today, Thursday, July 20th. Is that okay, Pat? Yeah? Alright. Well, let's see how far we get. Okay. Mama. Okay. July 14th. Bind the sacrifice with cords even unto the horns of the altar. Psalms 118:27. Is not this altar inviting thee? Shall we not ask to be bound to it, that we may never be able to start back from our attitude of consecration? There are times when life is full of roseate light, and we choose the cross. At other times when the sky is gray, we shrink from it. It is well to be bound. Wilt thou bind us, most blessed Spirit, and enamor us with the cross, and let us never leave it. Bind us with the scarlet cord of redemption, and the gold cord of love, and the silver cord of Advent hope, so we will not go back from it or wish for another lot than to be the humble partners with our Lord in his pain and sorrow. The horns of the altar invite thee. Wilt thou come? Wilt thou dwell ever in a spirit of resigned humility, and give thyself wholly to the Lord? Selected. The story is told of a colored brother who, at a camp meeting, tried to give himself to God. Every night at the altar he consecrated himself, but every night before he left the meeting, the devil would come and convince him that he did not feel any different and therefore he was not consecrated. Oh, no. Again and again he was beaten back by the adversary. Finally, one evening he came to the meeting with an axe and a big stake. After consecrating himself, he drove the stake into the ground just where he had knelt. As he was leaving the building, the devil came to him as usual and tried to make him believe it was all a farce. At once he went back to the stake and, pointing to it, said, "Look here, do you see that stake? That's my witness. God has forever accepted me." Immediately the devil left him, and he had no further doubts on the subject. From the still small voice. Beloved, if you are tempted to doubt the finality, oh, cutie, the finality of your consecration, drive a stake down somewhere and let it be your witness before God and even the devil that you have settled the question forever. And then there's a verse, are you groping for a blessing, never getting there? Listen to a word in season, get somewhere. Are you struggling for salvation by your anxious prayer? Stop your struggling, simply trust, and get somewhere. Sorry. Does the answer seem to linger to your earnest prayer? Turn your praying into praise and get somewhere. You will never know his fullness till you boldly dare to commit your all to him and get somewhere, by Songs of the Spirit. Okay, the next one, July 15th, is a verse from 1 John 5:4. This is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. And most of this is a poem. It is easy to love him when the blue is in the sky, when the summer winds are blowing and we smell the roses nigh. There is little effort needed to obey his precious will when it leads through flower-decked valley or over sun-kissed hill. It is when the rain is falling or the mist hangs in the air, when the road, look at that ball! When the road is dark and rugged and the wind no longer fair. When the rosy dawn has settled in a shadowland of gray, that we find it hard to trust in him and are slower to obey. It is easy to trust him when the singing birds have come and their canticles are echoed in our heart and in our home. But 'tis when we miss the music and the days are dull and drear that we need a faith triumphant over every doubt and fear. And our blessed Lord will give it, what we lack he will supply. Let us ask in faith, believing, on his promises rely. He will ever be our leader, whether smooth or rough the way, and will prove himself sufficient for the needs of every day. Isn't that beautiful? To trust in spite of the look of being forsaken, to keep crying out into the vast, whence comes no returning voice, and where seems no hearing, to see the machinery, of the world, pauselessly grinding on as if self-moved, caring for no life, nor shifting a hairbreadth for all entreaty, and yet believe that God is awake and utterly loving, to desire nothing but what comes meant for us from his hand, to wait patiently, ready to die of hunger, fearing only lest faith should fail. Such is the victory that overcometh the world. Such is faith indeed, by George MacDonald. Whew. Do you see this little babu? Look at this little cutie. Oh, cute. Yeah, I had so much joy to my reading, honey, and my day. Look at this. Look at this little puppers. All right. The next one is July 16th. Because thou hast done this thing and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Genesis 22:16-18. And from that day to this, men have been learning that when, at God's voice, they surrender up to him, the one thing above all else that was dearest to their very hearts, that same thing is returned to them by him 1,000 times over. Abraham gives up his one and only son at God's call, and with this disappear all his hopes for the boy's life in manhood, and for a noble family bearing his name. But the boy is restored, the family becomes as the stars and sands in number, and out of it the fullness of time appears Jesus Christ. That is just the way God meets every real sacrifice of every child of his. We surrender all and accept poverty, and he sends wealth. We renounce a rich field of service, he sends us a richer one than we dared to dream of. We give up all our cherished hopes and die unto self. He sends us the life more abundant and tingling joy. And the crown of it all is our Jesus Christ, for we can never know the fullness of the sacrifice. The earthly founder of the family of Christ must commence by losing himself in his only Son, just as the heavenly founder of that family did. We cannot be members of that family with the full privileges and joys of membership upon any other basis. C. G. Strumble. We sometimes seem to forget that what God takes, he takes in fire, and that the only way to the resurrection life and the ascension mount is the way of the garden, the cross, and the grave. Think not, O soul of man, that Abraham's was a unique and solitary experience. It was simply a specimen and pattern of God's dealings with all souls who are prepared to obey him at whatever cost. After thou hast patiently endured, thou shalt receive the promise. The moment of supreme sacrifice shall be the moment of supreme and rapturous blessing. God's river, which is full of water, shall burst its banks and pour upon thee a tide of wealth and grace. There is nothing indeed which God will not do for a man who dares to step out upon what seems to be the mist, though as he puts down his foot he finds a rock beneath him. F.B. Meyer. All right, going right into, although I do just want to say, I found this to be so true in my life, like when I was able to just like see, looking back, the hardest times of my life where I felt like I would never have the life I wanted, have the love I wanted, have the family I wanted. It was after I was able to let go of myself that the good was allowed in. So I truly